and always we're ready to help in the times of trouble. So we will not fear. His purposes are good. And ladies and gentlemen, as I continue to pray, Heavenly Father, I'm asking you that you will be with us as we stand here in unity, as we hold our brothers' hands up, as we lift up our Marylander family, we lift up our governor, we lift up our leaders, because your word says that we pray for our leaders. And yes, I pray for President Biden to give us guidance, to give us direction, and help us, Lord, to secure this bridge, to build it back. Builder, bigger, stronger and strengthener. As we come together, we'll give you the praise and the honor and the glory. And everybody says, amen.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, March the 15th, 2024.
Recognizing Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal.
To order petitions, memorials, and other papers. Yea and nay, consent calendar number 2. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 19.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of House Bill 19, be considered the reading for all the bills on the calendar.
So ordered. Report of the Committee on Appropriations. Report number 14. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 143, Teachers' Retirement and Pension Systems, Reemployment, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 170, County Boards of Education, Bid Advertisement Threshold and Electronic Posting of Hearing Notices and Bid Advertisements, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 192, State Personnel, Collective Bargaining, Supervisory Employees, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 232, Public Employee Relations Act alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 266, State Retirement and Pension System, Immediate Vesting, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 320, State Retirement and Pension System, Administration, Clarification and Technical Correction, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, Pass the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 366, Employees and Teachers Retirement and Pension Systems, Reemployment of Retirees, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 477, Time to Serve Act of 2024, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 489, State Retirement and Pension System, Board of Trustees, Responsibilities and Duties, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 567, Public Institutions of Higher Education, Student Withdrawal Policy, Reimbursement of Tuition and Fees, Cameron Carden Act of 2024, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 620, Resources and Education for All Prisons, REAP Act, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 1101, Higher Education, Maryland Police Officers and Probation Agents Scholarship Program, alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Appropriations, report number 15. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 490, State Retirement and Pension System, Consumer Price Index definition, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 517, Next Generation Scholars of Maryland Program, Program Administrator, alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 691, Higher Education, Charles W. Riley, Firefighter and Ambulance and Rescue Squad Member Scholarship, alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 706, Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, Reemployment as Sheriff, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 746, Winery and Vineyard Economic Development Grant Program, modifications, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed to third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 764, Arts Incubator Work Group, established, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 776, State Investment Portfolio and Local Government Investment Guidelines, Investment Standards, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 859, State Department of Education, Division of Rehabilitation Services, funding, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 880, State Retirement and Pension System, Average Final Compensation, Compensation Adjustments, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 881, Public Health Federally Qualified Health Centers Grant Program, Recovery of Funding, favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 967, Higher Education, Part-Time Senatorial and Delegate Scholarships, Alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Appropriations, report number 16. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 109, State Employees, Parental Bereavement Leave, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
There is one amendment that conforms the bill to the House version and removes unnecessary definitions. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 133, State Employee Rights and Protections, Personnel Actions and Harassment, Investigation of Complaints, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical, and amendment number 2 conforms the bill to the House language. Move the amendments.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 377, Higher Education, Teacher Development and Retention Program, definition, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The first amendment is technical. The second amendment matches the bill to the House bill. Move the amendments.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 616, Maryland Historical Trust, Historical and Cultural Museum Assistance Program, funding, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
There are two amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 conforms this bill to the House bill. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 1026, County Boards of Education Budgets Notice Transparency in Education Spending Act. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The First Amendment is technical. The Second Amendment retains current law regarding transferring of funds. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed to third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary. Report number 19. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 656, Family Law, Victims of Domestic Violence Program, Certification and Grant Fund. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 734, Municipalities, Vagrancy, Repeal of Authority to Prohibit. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 354, Montgomery County and Prince George's County Rent Court Workforce Solutions Pilot Program. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 391, Criminal Law, Sexual Extortion, Stalking, and Revenge Porn, Statute of Limitations and In-Bank Review. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments, additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 439, Family Law, Victims of Domestic Violence Program, Certification and Grant Fund. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 470, Growing Apprenticeships and the Public Safety Workforce Gaps Act. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 20. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 475, Center for Firearm Violence Prevention Establishment. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the chairman of the committee.
Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments conform the bill to its cross-file House Bill 583 as it passed at this House. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 480, Protecting Election Officials Act of 2024. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Chairman of the committee.
Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The committee amendments alter the definition of election official by adding counsel to the State Board of Elections and counsel to a local board of elections and striking pages. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 549, Criminal Procedure, Forensic Genetic Genealogical DNA Analysis and Search Applicability for Deceased and Missing Individuals. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 550, Children Labor Trafficking. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing chair of the committee.
Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments conform the bill to House Bill 508, which passed the House earlier this session. Move the amendments.
Move the amendment. Are you moving the amendment?
I move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. I got it wrong. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 575, Court Personnel, Protection of Personal Information, Judge Andrew F. Wilkinson, Judicial Security Act. Favorable.
Question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Special order calendar number 53. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1524, Horse Racing, Racing Facility Ownership and Construction, Racing Operations. Favorable report as amended, adopted.
Maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the minority party, we try to make bad bills better. It's impossible with this. I have no questions, and I don't anticipate any amendments. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading.
They're doing it.
House bills amended in the Senate. House Bill 1244, the clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 1244, Maryland Higher Education Commission, Academic Program Approval and Institutional Mission Statements, Requirements. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Move not to concur in the Senate amendments.
The motion for the House is to not to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate receive from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Barnes chair, Delegate Smith, and Delegate Anderton. Said bill is returned herewith.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
clerk will take the call. There being 137 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading House Bill number 127. Clerk will read the first.
House Bill 1525, Maryland Stadium Authority, Camden Yards Football Sports Facility Special Funds established.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. There being 122 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1525, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading Senate Bills number 9. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 15, Cooperative Housing Corporations Dispute Settlement.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Is there any amendments to the bill or to its title? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 15, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 20, Environment Cox Creek Citizens Oversight Committee alterations.
Is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 20, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 55, Vehicle Laws Disabled Veteran Registration Plates Issuance.
Is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 55, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 149, Vehicle Towing or Removal, Insurer of Record, Electronic Notification.
Is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 149, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 156, Port of Baltimore renaming.
Is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 156, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 178, Agriculture Pollinator Habitat Plan, Requirements for State Highway Administration.
Is on third reading and final passage. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 178, having received the constitutional majority, is declared Pass. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 10. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 122, Education, Provision of Maryland Youth Crisis Hotline Telephone Number, Alteration.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 122, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 215, Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Account, Alterations.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Yes.
Madam Speaker, my finger slipped for the last bill. I want to vote yes.
Okay. Is there any debate on this bill? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 215, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 248, Libraries, Regional Resource Centers, Governing Board Membership.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 248, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 291, Persons Doing Public Business Disclosure Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 291, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 342, Property Tax Renters Property Tax Relief Program, Assets Calculation.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 342, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 425, Maryland Meals for Achievement in Classroom Breakfast Program, Alterations, Maryland Meals for Achievement Flexibility Act of 2024.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 425, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 444, Maryland Longitudinal Data System Center, Student Information, United States Census Bureau.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 112 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 444, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 11. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 199, Residential Property Affordable Housing Land Trust, Authority to Establish Condominium Regimes.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 199, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 207, Natural Resources, Northern Snakehead, common name.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There have been 133 votes, and can you hold the talk down, please? That's why I hesitated a little bit. Okay? Please. There have been 133 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 207, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 275, Vehicle Laws, Special Registration Plates, Gold Star, and Next of Kin Families.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There have been 139 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 275, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 281, Natural Resources, Submerged Aquatic Vegetation Alteration or Removal Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 281, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 284, Natural Resources, Sale, Barter, or Exchange of Mounted Specimens from Decedent's Estate.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 284, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 302, Commercial Northern Snakehead License Gear.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 302, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 12. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 315, Vehicle Laws, Bike Lanes and Shoulders, Viewing Right-of-Way, Sarah Debink Langenkamp Memorial Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 315, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next.
That's
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work on SB 281. I'd like to be recorded in the green.
Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 367, Natural Resources, Antlerless Deer Hunting Programs Authorization.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 367, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 418, Seed Community Development Anchor Institution Fund, alterations.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 418, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 446, Local Government Condominium Owners and Homeowners Associations Repair and Rehabilitation Funds.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 113 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 446, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 667, State Procurement, Maryland State Board of Contract Appeals, Attorney's Fees.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 667, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 673, State Procurement Small Business Reserve Program, Goals and Outreach Program.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 673, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 678, Income Tax Technical Corrections.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 678, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Vote change, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, I heard her. She want a vote change. She already said it before
Oh, I
I
was just
said
waiting for you
anything.
to recognize me, that's all. It's SB 446 to nay.
Gentleman from Harvard.
Madam Speaker, vote change on SB 446 to nay. Thank you.
Gentleman Frederick.
I think 667 to green. Thank you.
Gentleman from Cowell.
SB 207 to green.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
SB 15 to green, please, Madam Speaker.
Any other vote changes?
Madam Speaker.
Yes. Go ahead.
Senate Bill
Western Maryland.
418 from red to green.
Okay. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 13. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 72, Tobacco Tax Stamp Refunds Lost Due to Theft.
It is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 72, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 108, Income Tax Subtraction Modification, Police Auxiliary and Reserve Volunteers.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 108, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 703, Board of Public Works Transparency Data Dashboard.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 703, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 707, Armed Forces Support of Military Families and Addition of Space Force.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 707, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 799, Health Occupations Limited License to Practice Dentistry Services for Adults.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 799, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 999, Certified Nursing Assistants, Licensing Requirements, and Administrative Updates.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 999, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 14. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 90, Community Development Administration Live Near Your School Program Funding and Extension.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 90, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Yes, my vote on the last one. I'd like to be recorded in the green, please.
Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 321, Property Tax Credit for Hotel or Residential Development Projects.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 119 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 321, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 413, Discrimination Military Status Prohibition.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 413, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 442, Street Racing and Exhibition Driving, Prohibited Acts, Enforcement and Penalties.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 137 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 442, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 448, Study on African American Civil War Soldiers in Maryland.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 448, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
I have a vote change on 446 to yay.
Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 24. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 1, Electricity and Gas, Retail Supply, Regulation and Consumer Protection.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker, I believe there are amendments at the desk. The gentleman from Anne Arundel County, I believe in particular, has some amendments at the desk, if you would entertain them.
Were you
I'm
called
not as
on?
fast as I once used to be, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk.
Apparently.
Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendment?
We haven't gotten it yet. So.
693-721.
Amendment number 1.
So much be considered the reading of the amendment?
Now that I have it, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm as lost as you are, I promise.
Thank you for that. I noted that.
Okay, I said that, and then I'm like, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
that's not what I meant to say.
They're all laughing.
I'm doing great so far. Madam Speaker, this amendment simply puts into place a requirement for the PSC to report to the Office of the Comptroller the local and state tax revenue lost from all licensed retail suppliers that applied to withdraw for residential retail supply licensing due to SB 1. I actually have 3 amendments, Madam Speaker, but I'm going to do them all one at a time. But
that is preferable.
Yes, but I set that up because I would like the floor leader to just stand and answer a few questions, and I don't want him to have to stand up and sit down like we're at a Catholic Mass this morning. So all of the questions are going to apply to all 3 amendments, if that is okay with you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and nobody knows what's going on right now.
Okay, there we go. We're going to have another fireside chat here
Yes.
between my friend from St. Mary's County and myself. Does this legislation have the potential to reduce the number of retail suppliers and overall choices for Maryland residents and consumers?
Just for bad actors, and no, it does not limit choice. It puts guardrails and a regulation or regulatory structure in place to protect ratepayers from deceptive and unfair trade practices.
Okay. Did any retail suppliers testify that this would have a negative impact on them or possibly drive them out of the Maryland market, such as like Clean Choice Maryland?
Clean Choice did testify against.
Okay. And do you believe this legislation has the potential to give a company like my service provider, which is BG&E, which you all know, even greater control over the market?
No, I do not, because that is not how standard offer service competitive bids work.
Okay. Let me read you what a regulated monopoly is defined as. In economics, a regulated monopoly is a form of coercive monopoly by which a government grants exclusive privilege to a private individual or business to be the sole provider of a good or service. Potential customers are excluded from the market by law, regulation, or other mechanisms of government enforcement. Do you believe this is a step forward to or even a giant leap towards a regulated monopoly based on that definition?
Sorry. It is not. And so in 1999, largely led by efforts from Enron, 26 states went to a deregulated market. Maryland was one of them. Today, only 12 of those states remain in basically this competitive, allowing for competitive suppliers. A re-regulated market would or a regulated market, if Maryland were to re-regulate, would mean that BGE then gets to own the generation. That is not even remotely close to what we were doing here. BGE, Pepco, Smeco, your utilities, yes, they do have a monopoly. However, that monopoly is over distribution and transmission. And so this bill will not re-regulate Maryland's market.
Did the Public Service Commission recommend an amendment to have the provisions of the bill apply to only residential customers because commercial and industrial customers are largely served by retail suppliers and historically navigate the market to their benefit?
So, no, the PSC did not offer that amendment. That was my amendment that I took, and we amended out commercial and industrial.
So commercial has been...
doesn't apply.
Okay. And I appreciate that, because I also saw what the University of Maryland Medical Systems put in there, that they use this for huge savings. Long-term contracts has afforded us significant savings, which ultimately allows the health system to focus more resources on our nonprofit mission. Suggests that the spirit and intent of the legislation remove them, which you did, and I appreciate that. But I guess my question is, if they can save money and figure their way out through the market, why can't individual residents and individual Marylanders figure out the complexity of who their energy supplier is as opposed to a business? Are the businesses just smarter than the Marylanders?
I think that, well, the contracts are certainly different, and would have more leverage at the table, and they have probably, if I had to guess, an army of attorneys that can negotiate these things, look into the contracts, and go line by line through each and every one of these, making sure that every provision helps them out in the long term. But no, the bill still allows for residential customers to have the choice to enter into an agreement with retail energy suppliers. And right now in Maryland, it's about $200 million between energy or electricity and gas that Marylanders are overpaying for the same electrons. And so we set up a regulatory framework that allows for a fair, competitive market to exist, and residential customers can still take advantage of that market and have the comfort and wherewithal to know that they're not getting gouged.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'll take your word for it. I'm done with questions. And I do take your word for it, but I also want to see the empirical evidence. I want to see the data. I want to see the facts when we put this into place. So that's why this amendment just seeks to have reported back to us the loss of state and local tax dollars if it goes into place. Now, I found it interesting that I was actually cited in a federal court case this week under FERC that somebody sent over to me. It was nice to be in federal court and not have to pay a well-dressed, expensive lawyer to stand next to me. Here's why I was cited. It was cited for a bill that I introduced earlier that does the exact same, almost the exact same as this. It was HB 1315, Keep the Lights On. And in it, it asked 3 questions that I thought should be answered, with this amendment. 1, are we really providing cost savings for our customers? 2, are we maintaining a sufficient and reliable energy supply? 3, can we ensure that the proposed legislation will not more affect environmental detriment to our state? These are important things for us to know. And look, everybody in here has got great intentions. I understand that. And I believe that. But we have to have a look back sometimes. We can't just pass legislation all the time and say, well, it's going to work out. We've become pretty accustomed on this floor to quoting movies. It brings to me one, show me the money. Give me the receipts. Give us the receipts to prove this is not having a negative impact on Marylanders. When we talk about energy bills, it hurts the most vulnerable among us worst and quickest. Nobody can get away from paying their utility bill. People will pay their utility bill before they pay their mortgage or their rent because nobody wants the lights turned off. In light of our current economic challenges, we're talking write-downs. We saw the tragedy unfold this week. Loss of lives. We'll never get them back. But there's also an economic impact to this state. We don't know the tax dollars are going to be lost. All this amendment says is if we put this bill in place, we want to know how many tax dollars did we actually lose because of this legislation so we can go back to our constituents and go back to our citizens of Maryland and say, this was a good bill because it protected you and we didn't lose any money as a state that we are currently getting. Look at the bill. There's testimony after testimony after testimony in there of companies now in this state that are saying, we're going to be gone. I don't think they're all bad actors. There's always a couple bad actors, but do we punish the whole classroom for the actions of one or two? Of course not. We should do our job to make sure the actors that are here are good actors, but we can't just get rid of all of them and hope it's going to work out. And that's what this amendment seeks to do. This is a transparency amendment, just asking us to be good stewards of the taxpayer money and to our ratepayers. And with that, I push the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm going to ask the body to reject the amendment. And I think there are multiple parts there. The first part had to do, and I know the good delegate from Anne Arundel has a bill that deals with Brandon Shores, and that has to do with Brandon Shores closing and impacts, or the impacts that that is going to have to our grid and the enormous cost to it. We are trying to address that through different pieces of legislation, but we share the exact same concern on this. This bill doesn't have anything to do with that, period. The second part essentially has him saying or sacrificing ratepayers at the expense of taxes. And we're not willing to exploit ratepayers at the expense of raising revenues for the state. We have regulated a myriad of other industries, from tobacco, legalizing weed, other industries that there have been some economic shift. However, more Marylanders are going to have more money in their pockets, and the overall net benefit to our economy is that it should grow. Additionally, there are reporting requirements in the amendment, and frankly, in all three of his amendments, and so I guess I'll just address them all at once, that we already do track this through NIACS codes and the impacts to industries as a whole, and those reports are already done. And so we're not going to put another report or duplication of effort onto ratepayers simply for data that we're already collecting. And for those reasons, I urge the body to resist this amendment.
Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Once again, I just think this is good government. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be a government of transparency and reporting back to our people what we're actually doing and what the impact on their lives was. With that, I push the amendment.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. 873028.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This amendment just is another reporting requirement. Just states to the General Assembly on the number of, should the state government and the General Assembly shall receive a report on the number of complaints submitted to the Commission's Consumer Affairs Division by electricity customers who are automatically transferred from competitive electricity supply to standard offer service at the end of the term of their contract with an electricity supplier, but who wanted to remain with their current electrical supplier and to natural gas. Once again, this is just us having a barometer on what is really happening with the legislation we enact and put into law. Is it having a negative effect on our customers, on our Marylanders, on our ratepayers? Did we take something away from them that they felt was a benefit and they enjoyed and forced them into another market, forced them into what I consider a regulated monopoly? Because that's what this bill is going to end up doing, in my opinion. Now, look, I've been wrong before, probably be wrong again. Somebody's going to stand up here in a second and tell me I'm wrong now. But I like to see the facts. I like to see the receipts. I like to see the data so somebody can say, look, you were wrong. And we should be able to provide that to the people we serve. This is actually what happened with the bill. Maybe we can make some adjustments. Maybe we can make some changes. We do a lot of changes in here. This gives us the opportunity to look at real data and real facts and figure out if it's working or not. If it's not working, then we need to make a change. But we also should not be in the position that we're going to make decisions for every one of our Marylanders and their ability to pick the electric supplier that they wish. Now, if the floor leader is correct, we're not going to have a single complaint. Now, sing kumbaya. I doubt that's going to be the case. But let's find out. That's all I'm asking. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the stats. Did we do the right thing? With that, I push the amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I really want to start this by saying you're wrong, but no, I won't. I won't. Question for the maker of the amendment. In what situation would the consumer complain here?
If they felt like they were saving money and then forced to, let's say BG&E, they said, I was saving money before, but you pushed my supplier out of this state, and now I'm paying more for my rate.
Unlikely that is the case. Just to be completely honest, there is a price cap on SOS. The example that you don't have an auto renewal is in the green energy market. And so if you've read the bill, in the bill it talks about a streamlined green power exemption where customers would essentially pay more so that way they can buy renewable energy certificates and participate in the green energy market. That portion of the bill doesn't have an auto renew. So the only opportunity that a consumer would have to not auto renew and roll back to SOS, they would be saving money.
But what if we push those companies out? Like, is Clean Choice Energy, are they happy now?
Delegate, there are
The biggest
plenty.
green energy supplier we have, from what I can tell, and as far as I know, nothing in the bill now addresses them saying they're going to leave, and they think this is a bad bill. This is the energy company that most people want to go to for their clean green energy, from what I understand. Maybe I'm wrong.
Delegate, for the same energy, because Clean Choice Energy doesn't own any green energy generation right now. They're a venture capital firm. For the same electrons right now, they are slated to pay 130, or their residential customers on average pay 135% more than SOS for the exact same electron. I wouldn't call that a good actor. So are they going to make it here? If they can beat SOS and participate and be honest, yes, they will make it. Not only that, the way SOS works is that this is on there are 2 auctions each year. And that is a competitive market, which the wholesale generators can still sell into SOS. They can still do that. BGE, for example, I'll take one of the companies. It's almost a pass-through, negligible on the upcharge. they post what that SOS is 2 years in advance. So the retail energy supplier could know what that market is going to be in 2 years. They can purchase energy from the wholesaler knowing in 2 years that they can beat SOS. And in that instance, auto renewals are allowed. So I don't understand that there would be any sort of complaint in that situation. And for those reasons, I urge the body to resist the amendment.
Madam Speaker, he mentioned competitiveness. Look, it goes against every economic norm to think that limiting supply is going to reduce costs. It just doesn't happen. Look at the testimony. Look how many people are going to leave the state of Maryland. This is limiting supply to the point where the ratepayers, because we evidently know better than them, we're going to tell them who to go to. You're not smart enough to know who to pick. That's sad. And to be honest with you, it's a false narrative.
Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the Committee.
That's a false narrative. This does not limit consumer choice at all. Nothing in the bill does that. Nothing. So we will continue to hear that probably for the next hour. It is not a true statement whatsoever. Additionally, this amendment deals with complaints, and all that complaint data is online right now. You can literally go to the PSC's website and pull it all up. And again, I urge the body to resist the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from St. Mary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the maker of the amendment rise? Brian. I want to make sure I understand this. I was trying to ask you offline here. Isn't this amendment's based on transparency?
Correct. It's just a reporting.
Okay.
Find out who is complaining. Maybe they are complaining about the companies we're trying to run out of here. I don't know. But we need to know that in order to make informed decisions.
Okay, thank you. A question for the floor leader.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a quick question. How do we know that this, you made a comment during the debate there, that this is unnecessary. You don't think that we would need it. Over the past week, we've had a lot of discussion over housing bills. And in my opinion, a lot of these housing bills were caused by us making bad decisions 4 or 5 years, 5, 6 years down the line. How do we know that this bill would ultimately be successful? This is a pretty major change to our energy policy. 2, 3 years from now, if we don't have any transparency, and I think that's what the amendment is set to do, how do we know that this policy is going to be successful?
I mean, there's a myriad of things in the bill, Delegate, that sets up a regulatory framework to know that Maryland ratepayers aren't overpaying by 3, 4, 5x the price of SOS. All of the information is publicly available, both on SOS. All the utilities have to report what those SOS auctions are. That is published on the PSC website. The complaint data, we have it up, is published on the website, on the PSC's website. By the way, these are things that were requested by the retail energy suppliers, and somehow the utilities ended up having to pay for these websites for their information. And lastly, I would say at the federal level, all the information that we are providing is self-reported data by the consumer or by the retail energy suppliers. So the fact that Clean Choice Energy is 135% over SOS, that is self-reported. So there is transparency at a myriad of levels, both at the federal level, within the RTO, which is PJM, as well as the PSC, that sets up a market, frankly, that is transparent across the board. And the last thing I would say is the bill has nothing to do with housing. I understand that that is a topic that you're familiar with and passionate about, but you know, I don't have any comment or any take on what is happening in the housing market with respect to this bill.
Well, the question wasn't about the housing market at all. It was just as a comparison that bad policy needs to be rooted out, and we should always have a gauge of whether our policies are working or they're not working. And my question is, and look, the committee, the vice chairman is far superior and expert on this topic, so far superior than me. My question is, why is there so much opposition to this bill, if it's going to do so many wonderful things and lower rates and provide more energy, why is there so many opposition letters from like Detz Watson, who's a food producing company? I think that's pretty important. Why is there so many opposition letters from different businesses concerning about their energy prices skyrocketing?
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Several things on that front. One, the bill came in with commercial and industrial. A lot of the testimony has commercial and industrial industries opposed. We took that amendment. They are no longer in there. So that eliminated some of the testimony that you just read, or opposition testimony. Second, I would say that, sometimes we do get policies wrong. And if you go back to 1999 when we deregulated the market, and you see the statistics bear itself out, where people are paying, 18, 20 cents a kilowatt hour for what they could get on standard offer service for 8 cents a kilowatt hour for no real justification or reason. I think that is the market and the information and the data showing us that a policy decision we made in the past didn't work itself out, and here we are correcting it. And I will note that unlike the other 14 states that just straight up banned this segment, retail energy supply, we are not. We're setting up a regulatory framework so that there's consumer protections, so that our people don't get fleeced by signing up for a cell phone, and then next thing you know, their utility bill triples. So for all those reasons, again, I urge the body to resist this amendment.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you answering those questions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose? Roll call.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill?
Madam Speaker?
You have another one?
Last one, I swear.
You have witnesses.
Amendment 913-220.
Amendment number 1.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This amendment moves so much to be considered reading the amendment.
So ordered.
This amendment just adds the language, on or before August 1st, 2024, the Maryland Department of Labor shall establish a toll-free retail electricity supply and retail gas supply job unemployment hotline for the state residents who have lost their retail electricity supply or retail gas supply employment in the state due to report a loss of their employment or lost because their company had left. I think this is very important for us to put into place. If we do start to lose these companies and they are employing Marylanders, that we're there to at least help the Marylanders for forcing out their job against their will. If we're going to create unemployment in people's lives, then we have to have some resources put in place to help them find another job. The least we can do is go through the Department of Labor and say, here's some of your resources, here's where you can go. We'll post some job openings just to make that transition easier for them. It's devastating for people to lose a job. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people in this state that work paycheck to paycheck, and all it takes is missing 1 or 2 paychecks to throw your life into turmoil. We should be there to help them. If we enable their unemployment, if we're the cause of them losing a job, we should do the right thing and help them to find another job as quickly as possible. With that, I push the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I ask the body to resist the amendment. In 2021, we streamlined the process for anyone who lost a job and making it easier for Department of Labor to help those individuals get back into the workforce quickly. And so they have made, Department of Labor, to their credit, has made incredible strides on that front. Additionally, every county has a workforce development center, And so that is another avenue, or excuse me, another tool that people will have. And lastly, Maryland is home to the lowest unemployment in the country, and I think that speaks volumes for our people and for our state. And so I am sure at the amount of vacancies that are out there, these individuals will be able to find another job in similar work, because I was just on many of the utilities' websites now. They have vacancies. And so for those reasons, I ask the body to resist the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And we are blessed to have low unemployment here, but causing one person to lose a job is one too many in my eyes. And if we cause that problem, we should be there to solve it. And we should be giving them the resources they deserve because of something we passed here. With that, I push the amendment.
Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, I want to be sure everybody understands. Some of these individuals have jobs because these companies have gouged Marylanders for the better part of 20 years. And so we think overall in our economy that we should be giving more money back into the bulk of Marylanders' pockets. And so, yes, we are putting an end to some of the negative practices that these companies have participated in for well over 2 decades now. Again, please resist the amendment.
Is there any further debate? Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this amendment. I don't know about y'all here on the floor, but I've received a lot of email from people that are telling me that when this bill passes, they're going to lose their job. So and they don't work for bad actors. Some of them work for major suppliers in the area. So this is just assuring them, if indeed this bill does create a problem for employment, that we have their backs. And lastly, I would just point out that South Dakota has the lowest unemployment in the country. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
On the amendment. Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just want to make sure I was recorded in green on amendment number 873028. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an additional amendment of the desk, one of two, 803127/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I like a lot of things about this bill, and I think everybody should. And I appreciate my friend from St. Mary's County's suggestions that a lot of things in the bill will eliminate bad actors. They will eliminate people who trick folks into saying, hey, I'm going to save you on your energy bill. And they do for a few months or a short period of time, and then it winds up that they don't. It winds up that through added charges or poor consumer practices, regular residential folks, and you heard the Vice Chair of the committee indicate, there is such utility in these programs for sophisticated purchasers, like commercial and business purchasers, that we're not going to apply the prohibitions of this bill to them. If you are a sophisticated purchaser, which I am not, I have no idea. Potomac Edison charges me something, it is very difficult to tell what it is, and I just pay my utility bill. Grumble about it sometimes, but I just pay it. But if you're a sophisticated purchaser, you can come into the marketplace and you may be able to cut a bargain that works for your particular business, your particular facility, your particular industry, and saves you money, and you can pass those savings along to the stakeholders related to your particular business, whether they are your employees, whether they are your customers, whether they are your shareholders. There's an industry that really seems to want to come to Maryland that we have absolutely zero of, and they're called data centers. So I've told you before, when people tell me something's in the cloud, I look up and wonder if it's raining. But the truth is that data centers are becoming an integral part of our economy. One of the states that has the absolute most data centers, one of the states that's a national leader in data centers, is none other than Virginia. In particular, Loudoun County, Virginia, which for those of you who may not venture out that way, I lived there for a little while of my life. It is hard against, in particular, the Frederick County line. It abuts the Potomac River. It is our neighbor. It is no different than what we are. They don't have a different climate. They don't have a different economy. They don't have different topography. They don't have different energy suppliers. But for the fact that the Potomac River cuts through it, and 275, 300 years ago, some folks decided, I want to be Virginia and you want to be Maryland, some rich folks typically from England. Loudoun County, Virginia is Frederick County, Maryland. They're the same place. But there are no data centers in Frederick, and there are lots of them in Loudoun. And you might think, well, who cares? If I wanted to support the blueprint, if I wanted to provide ways for our local jurisdictions to have money to pay for transportation development, I would want a data center in my county, because in Loudoun County, they are one of the largest sources of local government revenue, because they have billions of dollars of equipment that is taxed. Now, we passed a sales tax exemption, as Virginia has, that enables that rate to be much lower for these data centers. We passed it, I want to say 3 years ago, maybe 4. Not a single data center has come. But even with some of the exemptions that Virginia has, data centers are helping to power their economy, quite frankly. And so you might say, what does this have to do with electricity generation and the contours of this bill? Well, data centers are an enormous user of electricity. They run 24/7, 365, a tremendous amount of equipment that needs complete power, complete backup all the time. And so what some data centers in places have suggested is that it may make more sense for them as a sophisticated purchaser or user of electricity to have a direct transmission line from a provider to say, hey, I figured out that I can save money if instead of just going on the general grid and paying one of the utilities, I can have a direct transmission line from a supplier, and it works for me, it works for my business, and the supplier's willing to do it. What the committee amendments to this bill, and I want to make sure we understand, when the bill passed the Senate, the provision that I'm talking about was not part of the bill. When it came here, the committee added an amendment that basically says we prohibit that practice. We prohibit a direct transmission line. It doesn't say exclusively data centers. My amendment does. My amendment carves down for data centers because I want them, because you should want them. Maybe some folks don't want them. We have a big debate about them. The governor has a bill in to help facilitate data centers coming here. Hasn't moved yet. Maybe it will. Other folks have bills in that may hinder data centers coming here. But if you're serious about growing your economy and growing your revenues for state and local government to pay for the things you want organically, then you should want data centers, because they are major drivers of economic development in the 21st century, and they require power. And so all the amendment does, instead of prohibiting generation directly from a power plant to a commercial or an industrial facility, it doesn't say you automatically can do it. It places a guardrail. It says, just like anything else in the energy world, you have to go to the Public Service Commission, and they hold a proceeding to determine whether the direct connection without interconnection to the distribution and transmission systems of the established utilities is more beneficial to the ratepayers or not. That's it. They're sophisticated entities. They want to enter into a deal. We have a regulatory authority. Let them do it. Don't have 141 of us or 188 of us say automatically you can't do it. You're barred from doing it. Let the experts at PSC determine whether it's a good idea or a bad idea for the global system to allow this. And in addition, because I very seriously believe that there are legitimate concerns about the alternative and backup power sources that are used for these things. So they have diesel generators. Because unlike when the lights go out at your house, it's really, really annoying for 15 minutes. If it happened to be in the middle of some sporting event or movie that you were watching and it goes out in the key segment of it, it's really annoying. But, you know, when it comes back on in 15 minutes, it's not that big of a deal. Data center goes down for 15 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, millions and millions of dollars of claims against them because they have prevented their customers, some of the largest information technology companies in the world, from facilitating their purpose of moving that data through the system. And so they need constant 24/7, 365 backup, and the most reliable source most of them have currently found for that on site is a diesel-powered generator. So what the amendment would also do, the Public Service Commission, in collaboration with the Maryland Energy Administration, would have to report back to us every year regarding the reliability of the main fuel source for any data center built in Maryland, the number of times the backup generation was used, the type, the number of hours per failure, and what type of environmental impact it has. So we're getting that information. The amendment is designed to allow very, very sophisticated purchasers and sellers and generators of electricity to help to try to facilitate data centers coming here so that we all can prosper from it, rather than saying, you can come, but you can't sort of negotiate this system. There are going to be costs to it, perhaps, and the PSC may decide that the costs outweigh the benefits. And if they do that, we won't move forward with it. But we should allow that analysis to occur rather than just simply prescriptively say, can't do it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And obviously, the minority leader is paid by the hour. The amendment at the desk has two components. The second component, the minority leader explained, will be taken up in a bill that we are voting on later this afternoon. And it is attached to a second or different bill. The first part of it essentially allows for a data center to be co-located with a generation plant. And so, in essence, it allows the PSC to do a review process to see if that is okay. There's two problems with that. The first is technical. It's not a PSC decision. It is a PJM decision. The second is, I would think everybody in this chamber would not want Calvert Cliffs to suddenly come offline. Because to try to put this in layman terms, an Amazon data center would take up over one stack of Calvert Cliffs. And right now, there's nothing to prevent two data centers from going behind the wall and being co-located with Calvert Cliffs. And what that means for you is, we, as Marylanders, already import energy. We do not make enough here. So if you take off 30% of Maryland's electricity right off the grid, we are on the hook to build out that transmission. Brandon Shores was given it as an example yesterday and earlier today. Brandon Shores is about half of what an Amazon data center would be. And that transmission cost $800 million. Additionally, taking Calvert Cliffs off the market, I should say siphon off, I learned from my elders, is that it throws the generation costs out of whack. And now not only are we importing more energy from out of state, but they can charge Marylanders more money. And so it opens up a potential several billion dollars of impact to the ratepayer. Additionally, it throws off reliability. And so this, in theory, could lead to rolling blackouts. That is what this amendment could potentially do. And so for those reasons, I urge the body to please resist the amendment.
Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. How does Virginia do it? Are we so backwards? We tell ourselves we're the most educated, we're the most wonderful, we're the most progressive, we're the most successful, we're the best darn state anybody's ever seen. But yet our neighbors seem to do these things. No rolling blackouts in Virginia. No rolling blackouts in Pennsylvania. They seem to do it. We can't ever do anything. And it reaches the point where you begin to realize we don't want to do things. Other than attract more federal government jobs, what do we want to do? What do we want to be the best at? What do we want to be competitive at? Nothing. 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 Our economy is stagnant. Everyone who tells you, Republicans, Democrats, governors, comptrollers, economists, stagnant. Because we rely on the great leviathan of government to do everything, and when we don't like something, we go, oh, gee, it couldn't work. How's it work in Virginia? Well, maybe they produce more of their own energy. I think my friend from St. Mary's County just hit right on something. You want to turn Maryland into a state that doesn't produce a megawatt of energy, except from a windmill off the coast of Ocean City? Good luck. Good luck. Because no one else is going to do that. No one. Not even California. California, they have nuclear plants. California's got natural gas. Yeah. California. Some folks want to turn Maryland into California in the Chesapeake, but we don't want to follow even California's policies. We just want to say we can't do it. And that can't be right. I agree with my friend from St. Mary's County that there is the potentiality that this idea may not work in numbers and cents when it's reviewed by the experts of the Public Service Commission. It's reviewed by the people who do this all the time. They make them back and say, hey, this is going to be deleterious to the ratepayer, deleterious to the system. But I got to be honest with you. If you think Loudoun County can do it and Frederick County can't do it, that's foolish. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And this amendment is deleterious to our grid. What you are suggesting, first, Virginia does have some rolling blackouts. Second, all of those data centers that we want here in Maryland, and we are trying to address this session, not one of them is behind the wall. Not one of them allows for what this amendment is potentially opening up. And so it is silly and crazy to allow 30% of our energy to just evaporate overnight and not have the data center who we want to come in here and pay for those upgrades, pay for those transmission lines, and pay their fair share for the amount of energy that they are taking from our grid. And for that, I urge the body to resist the amendment.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. You have another one?
Yes, ma'am.
How many more you have?
I only have one more, personally. I promise.
Uh-huh. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk 593729/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So this is completely different. This is a different element of the bill and a different issue. So one of the reasons behind the bill, which is a good reason, is that these sort of independent producers, not the standard offer service utilities, not the BG&Es, the Pepcos, the folks that you just turn on the lights, you pay the bill. These folks that you go out into the market and enter into separate arrangements with to provide you your energy. Part of the argument is that they cost more money. They can cost residential consumers more money than the standard offer service utility. And in some cases, that may be true. But there is an issue with what the standard offer service costs really are. And what the amendment would do is it would require the Public Service Commission to benchmark that number accurately, which would benefit and provide us the information as to are ratepayers really getting gouged, or are they within the range of what they would get from their standard offer service provider. And this affects a wide variety of these companies who go out and make independent deals with you, including things that a lot of people in this room like community and rooftop solar companies that sell you direct energy. And so we have an issue in Maryland with our utility prices. I think mainly the issue is because we don't generate any energy. We keep hearing we're an importer. It gets worse every year. You have to pay more money to turn the lights on in Maryland than you do in many of the states around us. But one of the reasons also, the utilities keep coming back to the PSC looking for rate increases. And many times that may be justified if they're putting in infrastructure, doing things that they have to be able to recoup through rates. But what this essentially does is, and I won't get into the esoteric nature of it, but it changes the formula. It incorporates or allows for the incorporation of more factors into what the standard offer of service costs would be, so that we could legitimately say, hey, you are paying more, this person is gouging you, we shouldn't probably have that, versus you're comparing apples to oranges. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And most of this is a difference without distinction. And I know that we had already discussed SOS on a previous amendment, but it is a competitive market. And I think a competitive market, frankly, relies on perfect information. And everybody has this same facts, same information across the board. The SOS market, really, we have benefited from that, since its inception. And wholesalers can still choose to sell to retail suppliers, but they can also sell into SOS. Additionally, there is oversight in the SOS auctions from the PSC, the OPC, as well as the PJM. And so many of these contracts, all of these contracts are posted online. In BGE's instance, which I gave earlier, it is 2 years forward looking. And so, frankly, I think that the retail suppliers have a competitive advantage because they know what they need to beat further out in the market, unlike a utility like SMECO, who it is just a straight pass-through. There is no additional costs or admin costs that SMECO passes on to its ratepayers. And for the other utilities that do, it's a very negligible amount in the grand scheme of things. For those reasons, I urge the body to resist the amendment.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? Not, the clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Are there any additional? Gentleman from Colbert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. It's amendment number 463724-1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment, Madam
So
Speaker.
ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This amendment is pretty straightforward. It tags on a bit to the minority leader's data center discussion, and it allows two things. First, a data center can have direct supply from a nuclear power plant, and in addition to that, it adds nuclear power as a Tier 1 renewable resource. And we need this, in my opinion, because in Calvert County, we have a nuclear power plant that we'd love to modernize. We've been talking about this for years. It's not in the renewable energy portfolio Tier 1 or any of the tiers for that matter. We definitely need this because there is discussion in Southern Maryland about putting data centers in, including in my county. And what baffles me is the nuclear power plant employs people from Prince George's County, Calvert County, Charles County, and St. Mary's County, and Anne Arundel County. All these folks live not that far away, and they commute and they work there. And it would easily generate hundreds of more jobs to modernize that plant if and only if we had it as a Tier 1 renewable resource. And if we did so, we could also co-locate a data center on the 1,100 acres of that property. And only 100 acres of the property are occupied by the plant. And so for all those reasons, to me, this should be a friendly amendment. It should be a no-brainer. If we really do, as the minority leader indicated, if we really do want data centers, and if we really do want clean energy, and we really want to power the data centers with clean energy, this would be the way to go. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'm going to ask the body to resist the amendment. If we want rolling blackouts, then this is a friendly amendment, but we don't want that. And this literally, as again, we've discussed, takes 30% of Maryland's energy right off of our grid. And we become an even larger importer, which we have heard several times on this floor, we don't want to be an importer anymore. Well, then why would we exasperate the problem? Additionally, this bill does not address the RPS directly. All it simply says is it aligns the retail energy supply market with the RPS standard that we already have in place, and we don't make any changes to that. So if we do come back with a different bill and change our RPS, this would automatically align with the changes. And for those reasons, I urge the body to resist the amendment.
Speaker.
Maker of the amendment.
I do appreciate the comments from a good friend from Southern Maryland. I just want to make a couple of clarifications, and they are important. If we are saying, which is what I just heard, that there isn't enough power on the grid, then why aren't we building another nuclear power plant at Calvert Cliffs and modernizing it? Because it's not wind and solar, I guess? Because the wind and solar folks get, I don't know, their pockets lined with all of these subsidies? That's why, and we all know it. And so what we're doing is we're turning away jobs at Calvert Cliffs by modernizing it with the most modern nuclear power plant available to mankind, and at the same time creating a safer environment and cleaner environment, and having data centers nearby that can directly feed from that plant. So the idea that we're going to have rolling blackouts because of this amendment actually is so silly, because the fact of the matter is that if nuclear were in tier 1, we would have more nuclear power plants built. And we wouldn't have to worry about, you know, rolling blackouts caused by schemes such as SB 1 and many of the other schemes that are being put on this board relating to manipulating the energy markets in Maryland and paying off the right people, not because it's clean, because solar panels, at the end of the day, do end up in landfills after 25 years. With modern nukes, we actually don't have waste if we really want to do it. And so this is an incredibly constructive amendment, and I do appreciate my friend from Southern Maryland's comments. And I can only imagine how many jobs we'd have in the 5 or 6 county area coming to Calvert Cliffs if we were able to pass this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Senate Bill 1 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will take the call.
Madam Speaker.
Everybody out. Clerk will take the call. There being 99 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 225, Occupational Safety and Health Advisory Board, sunset extension.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 225, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 261, State Board of Barbers, sunset extension and report.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 261, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 264, State Board of Cosmetologists, sunset extension and report.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There be 140 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 264, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next.
Senate Bill 288, State Board of Individual Tax Preparers, sunset extension and report.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 136 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 288, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on SB 321 to the green.
To the green. Gentleman from Western Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to be recorded in the red on Senate Bill 418 and Senate Bill 442.
Gentlelady from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to be recorded in the red on SB 1, please.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work. I'd like to be recorded in the green on SB 288.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County on the right. Aren't you from Baltimore County?
Thank you. I didn't work. I'd like to be recorded in the green for SB 1, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
The other lady from Baltimore County in pink.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also would like to be recorded in the green for SB 288 and 1.
Any other vote changes? Okay. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 15. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 472, State Government Permits, Licenses, and Certificates Processing, Transparent Government Act of 2024.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 472, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 666, Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, Monetary Relief.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 666, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 669, State Government Attorney General, Publication of Documents.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 669, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 830, State Board of Physicians, performance of X-ray duties without a license.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 830, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 969, Stream and Watershed Restoration, Stream Restoration, Contractor Licensing and Projects, and Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bays Restoration and Funding, Whole Watershed Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Recognizing the, I don't know what hat you're leading. Committee?
Thank you.
Committee?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would request a special order of this bill until the appropriate time on Monday or Tuesday.
Well, which one?
For a purpose of an amendment.
For which day? You can't just either Monday or is it Tuesday?
Monday.
Monday, okay. Question for the House is special order Senate Bill 969 to the appropriate time on Monday. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The bill has been special ordered. Okay. Calendar third reading House Bills number 16. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 75, Maryland Uniform Transfers to Minors Act, transfers as custodian for the benefit of a minor, authorization of court.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 75, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 113, Criminal Law, Sexual Solicitation of a Minor Through Child Pornography, Prohibition.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 113, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 130, Criminal Law, Indecent Exposure Within the Presence of a Minor.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 130, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 147, Real Property Access to Counsel in Evictions Program, Mandated Reports.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 147, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 164, Estates and Trust, Interested Person, Definition.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 164, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 251, Correctional Services, Division of Pretrial Detention and Services, Facilities.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 251, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 17. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 36, Correctional Services, Investigation of Suspected Homicide Reporting.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 36, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 80, Estates and Trust, Appointment of Personal Representative. Objections?
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 80, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 116, Orphans Court Judges, Restriction on Practicing Law.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 116, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 136, Family Law, Marriage Ceremony, Designation of Deputy Clerk.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 139 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 136, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 287, Department of State Police, Professional Occupations, Application Process.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 287, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 344, Criminal and Civil Trespass, Professional Land Surveyors Exception.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 141 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 344, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 2. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
Wait a second. Yeah, 1 second.
Recognizing.
House Bill 1115, County Boards of Education, Budgets, Notice, Transparency in Education Spending Act, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur.
Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1115 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1115, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Concurrence calendar number 3. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 472, Education School Mapping Data Program, established, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to concur.
Okay. I say this part. Question for the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 472 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 138 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 472, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Introduction of House Bill during the last 35 days of session.
Madam Speaker,
Recognizing the sponsor. Why is it late?
Madam Speaker, on March 26, 2024, the Francis Scott Key Bridge fell into the harbor. And so this legislation would seek to provide assistance for those individuals and those businesses who are now out of work because of the closure of the channel at the front of the Baltimore Harbor. And so with that, I ask the body to allow this bill to be introduced.
Shall the bill be introduced? Requires 94 votes. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 140 votes in the affirmative, the bill will be introduced. The clerk will read the bill and the committee assignment.
Household 1526, Delegate Clippinger, House Rules.
That ends the work at the desk. Committee announcements, appropriations,
Appropriations will not meet today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Judiciary,
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. House Judiciary Committee will have a voting session at 1:30.
Environment and Transportation,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Environment and Transportation Committee will have a voting session at 1 p.m.
Ways and Means,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will not be meeting today.
Economic Matters,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Economic Matters Committee will be having a committee chairs meeting at 12:30, followed by a 12:45 voting session. 12:45 voting session. Thank you.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health and Government Operations Committee will be voting immediately after session. Immediately after session. Thank you.
Are there any subcommittee announcements? Let me get you. Natural Resources.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Natural Resources will meet at 2 p.m. on Zoom. Thank you so much.
Government Operations and Health Facilities.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Government Operations and Health Facilities Subcommittee will meet following HGO voting.
Any other subcommittee announcements? Okay. Any delegation announcements?
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Legislative Ethics Committee.
Legislative Ethics. Okay.
Thank you. The Joint Committee on Legislative Ethics will meet on Monday, April 1st at 5:45 p.m. in room 142.
Any other subcommittee, delegation? Which one are you? Delegation? Yes. Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Baltimore City House delegation will be meeting immediately after the floor and the old House chamber. Thank you for a vote.
Any other delegation announcements? Okay. Any caucus announcement? Okay. Any personal or caucus, women's caucus?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Two announcements. Today, the Women's Caucus will host a pop-up and also free infant CPR training. Again, that's in the second floor of the Lowe's building. The other is on Monday night, Take Back the Night. We are engaging in a rally to inform members and raise awareness and support for victims of sexual violence, This Take Back the Night will begin at 5:30 in front of the Taylor Building. Again, Take Back the Night on Monday, and for today, a pop-up. Thank you.
Okay, any other caucus announcements?
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your urgent acknowledgement of me rising to the floor to announce again, ladies and gentlemen, Sine Die Seersucker Caucus will convene the entire day of Sine Die. So please wear your appropriate seersucker. We don't want you to be walking around here not looking appropriately. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Let's see. Any other
Judiciary.
person or guest? Good.
Madam Speaker, I apologize. On Monday, the Judiciary Committee will be meeting for a voting session and bill hearing starting at 1 p.m. on Monday.
Okay, 1 p.m. on Monday. Gentleman from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want my colleagues to welcome my intern, Shanna Cocker, from 10th grader from Damascus High School. She's also the Montgomery County Regional SGA Director of Policy. And her mom, Nimpin Seya from Montgomery County. Thank you.
Young lady from Montgomery County.
Madam Speaker, permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of myself and delegates Pam Queen and delegates Bernice Mercure North, we want to introduce the doctor of the day. I did see him sitting there earlier, Dr. Dwayne Taylor, an ear, nose, and throat and facial plastic and reconstructive surgery specialist in Bethesda, and the past president of the Montgomery County Medical Society. So welcome to Dr. Dwayne Taylor. Thank you.
Chairman of Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 2 announcements, if that's okay.
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to introduce your future Chief of Staff, my son Harrison, who's with us today.
Hello.
And my daughter Abby was here earlier. But colleagues, we have a very important birthday coming up this weekend. Permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I appreciate Delegates Pena, Melnick, and Lehman letting me do this. Every year I get this member a baseball-themed book for his birthday, even though he forgot opening day yesterday somehow when he was doing his committee announcements. There's a great story in this book about a pitcher named Bob Gibson, who was a St. Louis Cardinal, who was known for beaning players, beaning batters. And he was so notorious for beaning that in his last game pitching, he gave up a grand slam to a guy named Pete Lecoq. And he was so upset about this that several years later, he enrolled in an old-timers game for the express purpose of throwing a pitch at Pete Lecoq and hitting him. And I don't know why, but that just reminds me of this gentleman whose birthday we're celebrating. And I hope the Senate hears me. I hope my colleagues will join me in wishing a happy birthday to the Billy to my Cal Ripken, Chairman Ben Barnes.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I ask you to help me recognize a constituent and a good friend, somebody who is actually part of the U.S. Coast Guard down at Curtis Bay. I sent him a message this morning just telling him that I sincerely thank him, and I know you all do too, and I just want to share with you the message he gave back to me, because I asked him who else he felt like needed to be shown some appreciation. He said, "Good morning, thank you for reaching out. It truly means a lot to all of us. The Coast Guard's initial response was conducted by Coast Guard Station Curtis Bay, Coast Guard Sector Maryland, NCR, Coast Guard Cutter Mako, Coast Guard Cutter James Rankin, and Coast Guard Anton Baltimore. The support by the locals has been amazing. We've been taken care of consistently." They've been on the scene 24/7, a lot of them, and haven't given up. And the work they have done will never be fully appreciated, I don't think, because it is a tough job. And I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're the best. And I just wanted to take this moment to recognize him and publicly thank him. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Madam Speaker.
I'm going to take gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to continue to acknowledge remarkable women, as I have one of my guests, constituents today from District 12B. Ms. Shen is in the gallery today as a guest from my office. She is an outstanding contributor and facilitator, mother, wife, grandmother, leader, community liaison, motivator, mental health nurse, and licensed evangelist. Shannon exemplifies dedication and commitment in every aspect of her life. We just like to thank her as also a member of the Beehive. I want to let her know that she needs to continue to shine bright like a diamond. Thank you.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I wanted to introduce Delegate Pasteur's intern for the day, my daughter, Dorothy Carden.
Okay, Majority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, this is just a reminder as we enter the final days of the legislative session, we will have very long debate. And I know as you start to feel stir crazy, we want to go to the lounge to stretch our legs. But we are still expected to be in our seat to vote. And if you miss a vote, you can't come from the back and say, you know, I missed it, I want to be there, right? Because we have other colleagues who are staying here to listen to the debate that everyone is participating in. So just as a reminder, understand we get hungry, we need bathroom breaks, but the expectation is for us to the degree possible, sit in our seats and listen to the debate that everyone participates in on both parties, and be in your seat when it's time to vote. Thank you very much.
Any other personal or guest announcements? Okay. Pages. Up in front. Recognizing the protocol chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Oh, what a wonderful week we've had. I'm telling you, these sunshine's been on the money today, yesterday, and the day before. And I'm telling you from the bottom of your protocol chair, I love you. Thank you. And I know all these wonderful delegates, thank you for helping them today because they needed it. So, today is Friday. Guess what? When you know the drill, when I say your name, you know what to do. Okay, here we go. First up, Carrie Coley, Baltimore County, District 11B, McDonough High School. Olivia Hahn, Hartford County, District 34A. How did he grace high school? Daniel Katz, Cecil County, District 36, Northeast High School. Lydia Kushner, Montgomery County, District 20, Montgomery Blair High School. Eric Lynn, Anne Arundel County, District 31, Severna Park High School. Naomi McKenna, Howard County, District 13, Alton High School. Aiden Sachs, Baltimore County, District 34B. Layla Bladesville, Abigail Ladella. Okay, let me get it right. Worcester, Worcester. You, well, help me. What? Worcester. Okay. District 34A, Stephen Decatur High School. Thank you. You wonderful delegates for the help that I have. Sunshines, all that we won't see you next week. It's almost Saturday. So all that comes back, Saturday is going to be, I hope some of y'all do come back, okay? Madam Speaker, they were wonderful. Your sunshines, y'all pick is the bomb. Thank y'all very much. You can have a seat. One more announcement. Almost there, Madam Speaker. I'm down to 18, and y'all have been so wonderful of being with us. Madam Speaker, may I just tell them about Sunny Day real quickly? Can I say it or no?
Do it Monday.
Huh?
Do it Monday.
Oh, you want me to do it Monday?
It'll
Oh,
be
that's
more
right.
me-
We
it'll
do
be
have
more
another
meaningful.
week, don't we? We got another week, God forbid. Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. It's been a great week. Thank you very much.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
All right. Clerk will take the call. There being 140 members present, the House is still in session. Listen very closely to what the Majority Leader has to say. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stands adjourned till Monday, April 1st at 6:30 p.m. Legislative date, March 17th.